The Blitz Skirmish season is upon us, and today I will introduce to you a Dash Blitz deck with Plasma Barrel Shot. This list was created by Patrick Shaw from the Combat Chain podcast. I will leave the link for the Combat Chain podcast down in the description below. Please give them a subscribe. Patrick came up with the idea to play Plasma Barrel Shot in Dash Boost in Blitz. He gave me the first version of the list, then we discussed, we tinkered about, we tested, and then we came up with a final version. This final version is from Patrick. He did the final effort to the deck list. So, what does the deck want to do? The deck wants to boost as much as possible and then finish the turn with Plasma Barrel Shot. Remember to charge the Plasma Barrel Shot before you start boosting. We will be jumping shortly into a deck tag, and also I will be giving you some suggestions on how to modify it based on your local metagame. Let's jump into the deck tag. Of course, our hero is the Young Dash. I will first start showing you the deck, and then the items, what items to start with, and the equipment and in which matchup you want to play the equipments. First, let's start with the usual suspect of the boost cards. We are playing the 60 to 60. This is the most efficient card. 0 cost for attacking for 4, which is pretty good. Then the second one we have is Zipper Hit, that attacks for 1 more but costs 1 resource. Then we have the 6 T-Bones. This is the new card from Everfest that forces your opponent to block with an equipment, and also it attacks for 3 for the red, and then 2 and 1 for the blue and yellow. Then the last playset of boost cards we are going to play, it's the Throttle. This is the most powerful one that you can use Goliath Gauntlet, for example, to boost it up by 2. So after we saw our main booster cards, we have 24 main booster cards here. Then we have some other boost cards with effects on hit. We have a red combustible carrier that if it hits the next attack, this combat chain gets +3, which is a good way to push damage and force the block with at least 2 cards, or like a card and an equipment or 2 equipments. The other one we have is high speed impact, that if it hits, the next attack gets dominate, so it forces your opponent to block, and if they don't, you get dominate. As far as utility cards for our dash deck, we have a rotary ram that gives your attack +3, and if you boost it, you can put it on top of the deck. If you play against Guardian deck, for example, you want more cards in the deck because they try to fatigue you, so you may want to play this afterwards. And then we have some high octanes to get some extra action points, so you can save some cards from boosting in order to preserve your deck in case you're gonna get decked out. Then we have the payoffs for boosting. So of course we are playing Plasma Barrel Shot, which attacks for 1 plus the number of times the booster is combat chain. So this is a good way to finish. Besides Plasma Shot, we have Payload. That payload is 6 attack with Dominate. You can break Goliath Gauntlet, attack with attacks that don't cost more than 1, and then play with this. It's going to be an 8 Dominate. And then the last payoff for boosting is Overblast, that gets +X, which equal to the number of times you boosted this turn. We're playing only the red ones. Blue, of course, are a consideration, depending if you need more blue, especially if you play against Skano. So these are the 36 cards that are like attack and like 1 pump spells and high octane, but we need to have some items for dash. Our items are the Teklo Pounder. We are playing 2 Teklo Pounder. This is really good because it gives +2 to the first attack you boost each turn. And then the other 2 items that we have is the Dash Specialization, that is Teklo Core. What you want to do is to play this at the end of the turn in case you don't have one of our big finisher, so you have more resources. This deck is really resource hungry. For this reason we have a decent amount of blues to fuel our deck, and also we have some equipment that gives us some extra resources. With that said, let's jump into the equipment. As weapon we are only playing Plasma Barrel Shot instead of playing the pistol. This is a more proactive game plan than the pistol and deals more damage than the pistol usually. The main equipment we want to play with this deck, it's the Arcanite Skullcap to preserve a bit of life while trying to boost. We have the Goliath Gauntlet to pump our attacks. We have the Achilles accelerators in case you need to get an action point, and also it's good for Arcane Barrier. And then the last piece of equipment is probably one of the most key pieces in the deck, and it's not Teclo Foundry Heart, it's Vest of the First Fist. This doesn't break the chain whenever you hit, so you get some resources. As I said, we have a lot of 2-cost attacks in our deck, and Vest of the Fist is really useful. Then, besides the core of the 4, we have some other cards that, depending on the matchup you face. We have many choices for arm pieces instead of Goliath Gauntlet. If you want Arcane Barrier, we're playing Nurun Gloves. If you need to defend, you have the Iron Gauntlet. And if you're playing against Brute, you have the Gambler's Gloves. Another piece for the legs, if you need to block in some matchups, for example against Benji or Kasai, and probably Guardian, you can play a pair of the Ironhide legs. This block for 2. In the camp of blocking, we have a Teclo Foundry Heart. This comes out in the matchups that you also need some extra blocking. And in case you need Arcane Barrier 2, probably only against Kano, you have Wizardtronic Model I. So this is all of our equipment. So let's quickly go over various matchups and what equipment you're going to play. So this is our default configuration. We're going to play this most of the times. Also, we have Arcane Barrier 1 in case of playing against the Rune Blades. If you need to be more defensive, for example, Benji, Dori, Holdim, and Kasai, you want to side in the Ironhide Gauntlet, the Teclo Foundry Heart, and the Ironhide Legs. If you're playing against Brute, I will play the Gambler's Glove over the Goliath. Especially like Kaio likes to roll high with their attacks, so this can stifle one of their attacks if they hit a 5 or a 6. And then the last matchup that we are going to sideboard differently is against Kano. We are going to play Wizardtronic Model I and the Nurun Glove. We have Arcane Barrier 4. It's not 5, but I think 4 is plenty enough for Kano matchup. And you want the extra resource from the Best of the First Fist. This is how we're going to play with the equipment. Now let's talk about some changes we could do to the deck list. One card that you might have noticed that it's not in the deck is the Maximum Velocity. Although it's a good card, you really need a 5-card hand to pull it off. With the Vest of the First Fist, you probably can pull off the Maximum Velocity also on a 4-card hand, but it's gonna be way harder. You could put in maybe 1 if you want to be spicy, but I don't think it's worth playing. Some other changes can come in the items we play. We're playing 2 Teclo Core and 2 Teclo Pounder. If Kano is prevalent in your metagame, you may want to play 1 Signal Jammer just to slow them down, and you can cut either a Teclo Pounder or a Teclo Core. And another card you could add to the deck is probably Magnetic Shockwave instead of Teclo Cores, but this is only if your metagame has a lot of Rangers, because Rangers have to block with equipment and they don't have like free blocks with some of the equipment. So as I said, it's metagame dependent. If you are unknown about the metagame, I would not bring those 3 in and just keep the deck as it is. But this is it. This is the Dash deck, Boost deck that we've been playing, testing, and has been performing pretty good. It's a really aggressive take on Dash for Blitz and can race against most of the decks on the field. I hope you enjoyed this deck tag, and if you end up playing it, please let me know in the comments or in my Discord or on Twitter how it's performing. With that said, thanks a lot for watching. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe in the button down here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.